It's yours truly, King of Podcasts, here with another When I'm Not Podcasting. We're going to go to a story from The Guardian, talking about the concept of demisexuals. Now, I get a little confused with some of the new lingo and terms that come out on a regular basis. It's been a thing where, what was the last one that I did that I was trying to figure out that really, in some cases, some of the names that come out here for the types of sexuality or your gender pronouns and things like that, I have not been able to get my mind around it too well. It's still a lot to try to figure out. And one of the latest ones was super straight. And then the other one, what was the other one that we had? So we had the super straight movement. That was not too long ago. And then the other one wasn't an allosexual? Was that the other one we did? Allosexual? Well, they had the flag. Is that what it was? Or am I confusing that? Yes, allosexual. I talked about that back in April. Then I talked about super straight before that earlier this year. And now we're at demisexual. So The Guardian's Arwa Maudawi talks about how pop culture has become more and more sexualized as sex is sold to us willy-nilly, but young people are turning away from it in droves. Thus the question, are people still having sex? I don't know, but it confuses me when I hear stories like this. So the story that came out, that got everybody all caught up with the new word demisexual, which if you already didn't know already, there is bisexual. Well, we'll go into that in a second. So the daughter of the governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, you heard about them during the pandemic, right? Well, in a recent Instagram live stream with the former CEO of a health company, she talked about being queer, noting it was when she first came out that she worried about people thinking she was attention seeking or that it was hip or cool to not be hetero in my liberal bubble. So she went on to say that after flirting with bisexuality and pansexuality, she decided the identity most resonates with her is demisexuality. I don't know. I know I feel weird, but I talk about this, and I hope people will come back to me and kind of explain things to me here. Because when I'm not podcasting, I hear words like this, and I'm trying to understand things. I understand queer, I understand gay, and even pansexual. That kind of confuses me. I've heard sapiosexual. No, there's all those. It's too much. Pansexuality, attraction to people regardless of the gender. Okay. And there's other genders we don't even talk about. I mean, God, non-binary, agender, pangender, genderqueer, two-spirit, third gender. There's just so many more. I don't know. Cisgender, we know that's like hetero. Okay. But there's just too many more to really figure out. At least for me, I would love to find out if somebody is able to go ahead and easily go ahead and compartmentalize and basically run like a damn encyclopedia understanding what these are, because I don't. Now, demisexuality, according to the definitions for those of you that are going to learn like myself, and maybe I feel stupid for not knowing this, but demisexuality means being sexually attracted to someone only when you have an emotional bond with them. Well, and it could be whoever you want, is the idea. Now, this writer here mentions that when she came out 20 years ago, she wasn't worried about that people might think I was declaring myself queer because it was cool. It was decidedly not cool. No, I was worried about getting beaten up. I'm not trying to win the oppression Olympics over here. I think it's brilliant that we've gone from words like gay and queer being widespread slurs to something that the privileged offspring of politicians reckon is a badge of honor. I don't know if it's so much of a badge of honor. And, there's a thing where I think, some people really thought that some of the terms that were used in earlier times, like say the 70s into the 80s, that maybe there were certain words that were used that some people thought were derogatory. Now, listen, the N-word, to me, I'll never say it. It's not a word I like to say, nor write, nor really care to go and use in any kind of a sentence. Not my thing. And there's other, derogatory remarks that I'm not going to use, for other genders or religions or things like that. I'm not going to use that. It's just not necessary. But I never thought the word gay or queer was anything that was too bad. Or calling if you're going to say African American, which, that's kind of just a random term, black, okay? And then the other thing, too, is that you have certain races that are part of certain nationalities. And sometimes that's how we work as Latinos. For me, it's like, okay, this guy, it's a white Jamaican, or there's a black Dominican, or there's a, Asian Canadian, whatever. Like, that's what we do. So we try to identify, okay, so we know that the person is a particular, we can kind of multi-identify somebody of who they are and what their cultural background is. I'm like, what's wrong with that? And, for me, trying to find the best way to go and use the LGBTQ and going, hell, I don't even use the words gay or queer. Like, when? It doesn't make a difference to me. I don't know why it's such a big deal. So she is cynical, propelling the eye rolling, that she mentioned the last time I checked, demisexuals weren't exactly an oppressed minority fighting for equal rights. They're just people who aren't sexually attracted to others unless they form a strong emotional bond with them first. Acting as if you are needing to get to know somebody before jumping into bed with them constitutes a marginalized sexual orientation that needs a flag, seems to play into the hands of right-wingers who are desperate to argue that liberals are narcissists with a victimhood complex. Listen, it is the same thing as super straight. Let's just be honest here. You're just trying to create a name just to, put yourself in a category. It doesn't make sense. So like she said, this young lady, it was a very pretty lady, by the way, beautiful girl, Michaela Kennedy Cuomo. So she has tried bisexuality and pansexuality. So, okay, she's experimented. Good for her. She's 23 years old. That's what 23-year-old girls, I wouldn't be surprised if they do that a lot more. That's fine. So in the story, the author, I'm not going to try to repeat her name again, she says while pop culture has become more and more sexualized, statistics show that young people are actually having far less sex than previous generations. There's been a lot of hand-wringing about hookup culture, but it may be more of a media invention than a reality. Indeed, kids these days seem to be spending more time describing the exact specifications of their sexuality and where it sits on various spectrums than they do actually having sex. Sex is supposed to sell, and it's being sold to us willy-nilly, but as the rise of demisexuality shows, fewer people seem desperate to buy into what we've been told sexuality is supposed to look like. Listen, since the 90s and early 2000s, the ideas of Girls Gone Wild or, Howard Stern still being sexualized like he was before, like, you want to talk about somebody that tells you everything. Howard Stern was the epitome of, like, glorifying and grandstanding sex, all right? He'd been doing it for years. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And now this guy's he's apologizing for it at 67 years, or 60, whatever old he is, 67, 64 years or whatever. Which if you know me, I've already done several videos on Howard Stern, and I've already made my point about him. But that's beside the point. But this is something indicative of a bigger thing. Is the fact that sex is not that made a big a deal with the younger generation. And part of it is because there's a division when people are politically, socially, or culturally divided. Online dating, there's such a wall right now for people to get together. There's such a thought that the pandemic probably didn't help much. And then there's the thing about, like hygiene and, condoms and, being promiscuous and, mistakenly getting pregnant, things like that. I think that probably gets into some people's minds a little bit more. But women probably feel good with just the attention they get, If they're able to go and garner some attention through online and they're able to do things where they don't necessarily have to do anything at all, then I don't know. Maybe more women want to be more like Sandra Bullock and Demolition Man. Yeah, that movie. Go look it up. Great movie, by the way. Okay, I'll leave it there. We're going to just leave it there. This story will always continue, and there'll always be a great topic to go back to here on when I'm not podcasting. Just saying. Okay. Anyway, I'll let you go, and I'll talk to you next time.